any problems?
Oh, yes. Right now it's okay.
Okay. So I have some slides. I can share my screen. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. So, welcome everybody. I'm Alexandros, IDSP Founding Coordinator, and today we're holding an IDSP20C ALT Finalist panel, 5th of August 2020. I'm the founding coordinator for the academic project IDSP, i.e. Dissertation Support Project. Today we are privileged to hold an online panel on our IDSP team. Its title is IDSP20C ALT Finalists Panel with 3 of our IDSP20C finalists from ALT, Jensen, Meredith, and Yu-Ting. IDSP20C means our IDSP Competition 2020 for postgraduate taught dissertations, and ALT means Applied Linguistics and Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages, so TESOL. The panel is moderated by Dr. Ruolin Hu, asking the finalists questions on their dissertation research and their contribution to our IDSP20C competition. Let me now briefly introduce the panelists. So first, our moderator is Dr. Ruolin Hu. Is a lecturer in educational linguistics at the University of Birmingham and dissertation supervisor at UCL, supervising also Yu-Ting's dissertation. She holds a PhD in applied linguistics and an MA in TESOL from the University of York, as well as a BA in international business communication. Skilled in designing and conducting experiments and quantitative data analysis, with main research interests including language testing and assessment, particularly in the field of English as a second or foreign language. Welcome, Ruolin. Our first finalist, Tianxin Yan, silver medalist of our competition, studying her MA Applied Linguistics at UCL Institute of Education and holds a BA in English. Interested in language and ideology currently researching Afrophobia on Chinese social media sites and aiming to unpack racist discourse in cyberspace through a combination of quantitative and qualitative methods. Welcome, Jensen.
Hi.
Our next finalist is Meredith, bronze medalist of our competition. Pursuing an MA in Applied Linguistics at the UCL Institute of Education and holding a BS in Liberal Studies with concentrations in Anthropology and History back in New York. She is an English and for academic purposes tutor at the University of Essex International College, with the current research interest focusing on the effect of multilingualism on mind and brain. Welcome, Marybeth.
Hi, thank you.
And our last finalist for today is Yu-Ting Huang, 5th place in our competition, studying TESOL pre-service MA program at the UCL Institute of Education, having completed a bachelor's degree in English at the National Taiwan Normal University. She launched a teaching career as a high school English teacher in Taiwan, and her current research interest concerns the field of learner autonomy, including the implementation of autonomy-oriented curricula at the local level. Welcome, Yu-Ting.
Hi.
Finally, administrative aspects and our gratitude and wishes. Attendance is open to all our team members that can also ask questions in the meeting chat. We're extending our warm gratitude and wishes to our moderator, 3 finalists and participants. This panel is recorded and can be watched later in our general channel. A reminder that we are initiating 30-minute bi-weekly ALT updates, hearing from our accepted abstract authors from ALT from tomorrow 8 a.m. in the same channel. And finally, we're wishing a fruitful discussion I'm inviting Ruolin to initiate this promising panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. So I don't have any slides. So I'm just going to hold this chat relatively casually. So if you can't hear me during the session, please just let me know immediately. I'll repeat what I've just said. So firstly, a huge congratulations. You've done really well. I've seen the recordings of your presentation. They are very interesting topics. I believe this competition took place around 10 days ago. So if you don't mind, can you please quickly recap what you have achieved, what your research questions are, and what your key findings are for everybody who is here. Starting with Marybeth, do you mind?
Yeah, absolutely, sure. So my key research questions centered on what I called instructed bilinguals, and these were bilinguals who were in the process of actively acquiring language. So I selected final year degree students who were studying language courses at university. And so one of my research questions was how different bilingual experiences, such as instructed bilingualism versus heritage bilingualism, could modulate working memory. And then I also wanted to find out whether or not instructed bilinguals, because of their active engagement in acquiring a language, could perform better on vocabulary tasks, so vocabulary acquisition as well as sound recognition.
Excuse me for a short interruption. So, Marybeth, because your head is a little higher than can you reposition your camera?
I can try.
Like this better.
Yeah, I can try. Yeah, it's just because I'm quite tall and my desk is quite low, so it's difficult to like. But I can try. Yeah.
It's okay now. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Right, that's very interesting. Did you find any differences in terms of the bilingualism, the heritage bilingualism and the instructed bilingualism?
A few, yeah. So it was interesting. I found that, so I did 3 tasks that I wanted to. I'm following the Baddeley and Hitch model of working memory. So I did 2 simple span tasks, as well as the flanker task, Erickson flanker task, because I wanted to try to capture a reflection of the role of attention in working memory. And so the instructed bilinguals actually had faster response times than the heritage bilinguals on both conditions of that task. They also had higher scores on both the aptitude tasks. I
see, right, very interesting. It's very interesting. Very good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Tianxin, we'll come back to your project, but I'll let everybody introduce themselves first, if you don't mind. Tianxin, hi, welcome. Hi. I've seen your video. It's very, very interesting. It's very, let's say, relevant in the times that we live in. So can you recap what you have kind of, what research questions you've proposed and what findings have you generated at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So my research aim is to identify and to analyze the racist discourse that appears and are constructed and disseminated on Chinese social media. So what I did is to identify 5 of the racist actors on Chinese social media and to crawl down their posts from 2019 and 2020. And among these database, I searched the key terms, the Black people and Africans, to locate those racist posts. And with this research, searching these terms, I composed like 850 posts, and I use these posts to compose a racist corpus. And my research question is within this corpus, so how is the Black identity represented in this discourse, in the racial discourse, and what topics are made salient in this racial discourse and the racist speech? So what I find through the corpus analysis and the critical discourse analysis is that the hostility towards the Black is to some extent reflects the anxiety of the perceived marginalization of the Chinese identity, because many Chinese people now believe that they are being marginalized by the government. And what I also found is that racial essentialization and homogenization are very common strategies used to construct the racist discourse.
Very interesting. Yes, I've seen. I saw your kind of analysis you've done, 856. Even with limited word for each post, it's still a relatively complicated task. Let's just put it that way. Very good. And lastly, Yu-Ting.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Right. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Hi. Yu-Ting. Yes, Yu-Ting is supervised by me, so I know your project quite well. But can you just quickly recap it for everybody else who is not actually a supervisor?
Yes, so my research centered on exploring the implementation of anatomy-oriented curriculum at the local level. So two of my research questions that I presented in the competition were how teachers view learner autonomy manifested in the curriculum, and also the contextual factors that influence their implementation of the curriculum. And the methodology that I employed was 3 semi-structured interviews to explore teachers' implementation of this curriculum in depth. And the results that I found was that there are some results that are in line with the past research, for example, like learner characteristic, like dependence on teachers, and also students' motivation. But there are also some new findings, like how institutional cultures, relationship between experienced teacher and the novel teachers can actually impact how these teachers implement this curriculum. Yes.
Very good. Yes, it's very informative research. I think it will have, it will shed good insight into the implementation of that particular curriculum. So now we've recapped what you have done. What I'm first interested is what brought you to this project. So how did you decide this is what you want to kind of look into for your dissertation? And after that, we'll talk about what support you've received along the way and what are your plans with the project in the future. I suppose, Marybeth, do you want to share with us how you decided on this topic?
Absolutely. So as a language teacher, I wanted to do something different with teaching. I wanted to maybe impact a broader range of people. And in my research on bilingualism, we know that on average, bilinguals can delay the symptoms of dementia by around 5 or so years. And so I thought that was really interesting. And I thought, could this be expanded to other neurological conditions? Could it be an intervention? So we know from neuroimaging that as you're acquiring a language, the structure and the function of your brain is changing. So could that serve as perhaps an intervention for decline in cognitive function, such as memory or attention, things like that? And so that's sort of just my hope, is one day that maybe I could utilize language learning and language teaching as a way to benefit older populations, or perhaps populations suffering with some kind of condition, in a way that it might act as some sort of wellness activity, certainly not as any sort of therapeutic or curative, agent for these conditions, because it's certainly not medicinal, but as a way to promote brain health, mind health, cognitive improvement, things like that. Yeah.
It's a very good picture going forward. And I've read that they are starting to doing similar campaigns in Switzerland. They are actually introducing language learning programs to people aged between 60 and 65 and plus. And I think they have received some preliminary results. That's very encouraging. That's very good. Yes. So you kind of started with the kind of the predicted implication that the research like this might have.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
yes, exactly. That's an interesting start. Is it the same for you, Tianxin?
Yeah, like I'm interested in this topic because I'm personally a frequent user of social media. And while I was using social media sites to get news and to communicate with my friends, what I find is that the hostility towards the black Africans or the black as a whole is actually escalating. For example, you can see that under the news columns, the comments, I mean, any news that contains news from Africa or about, for example, the Black Lives Matter movement in the US currently, the comments under those news are very polarized. For example, most people actually are encouraging the Black Lives Matter movement and are identifying with the oppressions that they received. But there are also a large group of people who are leaving very hateful comments and using the pejorative language to describe the Black people and sort of things like that. That's one of the motivation. And another thing is that while I was doing my undergraduate in China, I know I have a few friends who are from Africa countries, and while I was asking them, will they participate in online discussion or will they use Chinese social media sites, they all said no. So I thought that the racism on Chinese social media might be more complicated than that because they are mostly conducted in Chinese. So it naturally excluded many other people from participating in it. So that's basically why I want to research these phenomenon. And another important thing is that there are more and more Africans in China. So these online hostility may actually influence the well-being of African people and immigrants that are currently living in China. So.
Yes, it's again very relevant and very apt in modern days, particularly given the kind of the complexity that's brought along with the outbreak of COVID-19. You might say it's escalating even faster before we can catch up on it. Yu-Ting, so is it similar to Tianxin and Marybeth? How did you land on this project idea? I remember you were very straightforward. For the first meeting we had, you said, I want to do this. And I never actually asked why. So would you like to share with us?
Oh, yes. So I think why I chose this topic was because of my learning experience and also my teaching experience as a novel English teacher in Taiwan. When I was learning English back in Taiwan, I always feel like it's so exam oriented. And also when I was teaching English in Taiwan as a novel English teacher, I also feel like I was always being chased by the prescribed curriculum. So when the Chinese government, when they have this new curriculum on learner autonomy, I was very interested because as an English teacher before, I never knew how to kind of foster students' learner autonomy because I was always chased by the written exams. So for this project, I really want to look into whether this idea, learner autonomy, is feasible in practical context, whether it's like whether the curriculum measures are being too idealistic. And I really want to see how like the contextual factors interact with teachers' practices in the instructional EFL context. Yes.
Yes, I remember one of your key findings was that the teachers find this curriculum very desirable, but when it comes to feasibility, they are slightly less optimistic about it. So that to some extent answers why what the kind of maps to what you have hypothesized, which is very good. It's very interesting. It sounds like you all have given this project a lot of thinking and you've done a lot of work, which is excellent, as evidenced by your being finalists of this project. Have you encountered any difficulties or met any challenges through the way? And would you like to kind of share how you have kind of overcome them? Let's start with Meredith.
Yeah, okay, so
we're going in circles.
Yeah, are we gonna go in circles? Yeah, so Well, the pandemic, I hate to just talk about the pandemic being the biggest challenge, but data collection began as soon as lockdown began. And so I had to convert my entire experiment to be online, which meant that I had to search for some kind of platform that could host these behavioral tasks. And so, of course, I found several platforms, but the struggle is that, you know, they all had licensing fees, and those were hundreds, potentially thousands of dollars. And so was not in a position to suddenly spend that much money to fund my project. And so I ended up finding an open source platform that could host the experiments, but the only trouble is that it required coding. And I'm not a coder. I have no background in coding at all. So, I mean, it just took several days of me sort of sitting down and playing with the code that this particular platform used and trying to manipulate it to get the tasks to do what I needed them to do. And so that was possibly the biggest challenge, is just having to code my own experiments. And they were not perfect, but they...
No.
It's so hard.
Yeah. I can perfectly relate.
I can use code computer. Depending what you're asking, I can see if I can help you.
Right. Alexander, I think you're breaking off. I didn't catch what you just said. It was kind of chunk by chunk.
I said, can you hear me?
It's breaking off. We can hear you bit by bit, yes.
Let me
Oh, sorry. No, I didn't think I heard anything. Maybe it was just me. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Hello,
yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just saying that I am working as a coding tutor, so I may be able to help Marybeth.
Should have had this meeting earlier.
I know,
right?
I know. Well, 3 months too late.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
Waiting for the paper later.
Yes.
But at least you have that on your CV now, Marybeth. That's something positive coming out of it. Yes. And you know how to code. That's great. Tianxin, did you encounter any difficulties? How did you? Anything difficult?
Actually, the quantitative part is also a very difficult part in my research, because I actually had to crawl down all the data from the web page, and that requires the use of Python, and I have no idea how to use that actually. So what I did is to consult one of my friends who are good at this, and I asked him to help me collect the data and to clean the noise, like the irrelevant data that appear on the web page, and then I can put that into the corpus application for further analysis. And another difficulty I encountered is that because I actually need to find a theoretical framework that can explain what I found on the social media site, which means to interpret the racist speech and to understand how it is formed and why it is like this. So what I did is, at the first stage, I'm using Stuart Hall's critical race theory to interpret it. But then I thought that it was not very, it's not, because what I was researching is based on a Chinese context. And in China, there is racism is not an identified issue, because in the official discourse there is no racism, and as a consequence, Chinese scholars are not going to interpret conflicts, any sort of conflicts within the framework of racism. So what I did is to I asked my supervisor, and he recommended Stuart Hall to me, and he think that I should use the racial essentialization and the way that Hall interprets the cultural politics in Britain. And maybe I can try to adapt that theory and to see its relevance in the Chinese context. So that's what I've been doing right now. I've been reading quite a lot about Hall's theory, and I'm still doing it actually.
Yeah, it's very difficult when you
also here a comment from me, because I'm trying to specialize in Python, and it seems that there are several of you that were working on it without me knowing. So do you remember, Jensen, which Python library you used? Have you used pandas, NumPy, or you just found ready code for your data code? You said your pre-processing of your data.
Oh, I'm not very familiar with how he crawled the data from the web page, but I used the word dissemination function of Python to segment the sentence into different words, because Chinese are different from English, right? Because the words are not naturally divided, so you have to separate the words and to decide which words correlate with which word, and they are a word instead of different parts.
Yeah, maybe you can show tomorrow part of this to how it works in our.
Okay, I work on that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's great. That's very interesting. You wouldn't think that by doing a PhD in applied linguistics you'd need some Pythoning skills, but you never know. Things happen. Things change.
You could know some.
Yes.
Yeah, IT
Maybe
stuff.
that's something which. Yes. That's the support we definitely need. I remember when I was doing my PhD, I also had to program and code, and that was not within my comfort zone by any stretch. Yeah. And you have to do so much YouTubing and just searching online, reaching out to all of the friends that you might know to ask for help. Yu-Ting, did you encounter anything similar? I don't remember you using any coding, but maybe you have. Let's talk about it.
No, actually, because my research is a qualitative one, so I did not encounter much of using quantitative coding tools. But I think the biggest challenge that I faced was finding finding participants with relevant background, because my research is a case study, so I have to make sure that the background, like the context of my participants, are super focused. So I think the biggest challenge I faced was to find participants with relevant background, because there are different types of high schools in Taiwan, like regular high school and skill-based high school, like vocational high school. There are also different types of classes, like elective courses or general English classes. So I have to make sure that the participants I find, they're all teaching in the same context. Yeah. So I think this is the most difficult part, and they all have to agree that the interview can be conducted over a long distance. Yeah, it's even harder because before I even plan to fly back to Taiwan and to conduct my research there, but it's just impossible during the COVID-19 crisis. Yeah. So I think this is pretty much the biggest challenge that I faced during my research process.
Yes. When you work with human beings, usually you have to deal with something, nothing going around it. You can't get around it. Yes. I think these you summarized them very well. These are the main challenges when you have to conduct empirical research in a pandemic outbreak, and you have to have you received any support in terms of these difficulties you have encountered, or did you talk to many people about the research projects that you have designed? Because I find that these projects are very interesting, and I think they are very good to talk about, even with people just from the general public or your friends or family. Did anything like that happen, Meredith?
Yeah, actually, so I was fortunate to, my flatmates were really interested in it. And so um, I obviously had to do all of my recruitment remotely, and they were so excited about the project. They were willing to share. I made a flyer, like a digital sort of infograph as a call for participants, and they were sharing it all across their personal social media platforms. I have a friend who's a journalist who was even sharing it around with his contacts. So they were quite supportive in helping me to recruit people. And then I'm also a member of a few applied linguistics research pages on Facebook. And as soon as I realized I was going to have to do all my data collection remotely, one of my first concerns was how do I get these tasks online? Because I was only aware of the downloadable softwares that you would have to use on your own laptop, and then you go somewhere with your participant and you'd have a proper session together. And so they were really helpful, and these are students and academics from all over the world that are in applied linguistics research, and so they were able to guide me in the direction of either web-based resources, or again this platform that I ended up using. They were able to tell me about that. So it was really helpful just to bounce ideas off of each other. And that was one of the first things I did. I remember posting there and I said, right, so it's dissertation time, and what am I going to do? My entire project is based around holding, sessions with these experiments. And so how am I going to get this on the internet? But they were able to point me in the right direction of resources and tools to do that.
Yes, you have very, very supportive flatmates. That's
yes,
very blessed.
I'm so lucky. Yes, I really am. Yeah.
Yes, not sure how we're going to replicate your case, but we'll try our best in terms of putting people together in the right accommodation. Tianxin, did you have any support? What kind of support have you received in your dissertation project?
I actually received many support from my friends. At the first stage of my dissertation, I did a lot of talking with my friends, my classmates, and also my supervisors. For example, I have talked with one of my classmates during undergraduate who's from Nigeria, and he was doing an exchange, and that's when we met. So I asked him about the difficulties he encountered in expanding or making friends in China, or participating in public discussion online, and how and why he is unwilling to speak in certain circumstances. And also, I have talked with my friend who's doing an intern in a media press, and she actually shared a lot of experience with me about how certain news should be reported, like this maybe the internet censorship as well as the press censorship, and how should certain things be reported, and what things should be said and what should not be said. And this greatly informed my research direction, like for example, how the government's policy might have influenced the internet communication, and which have also influenced the experience and the life and study of African exchange students in China. And while I was doing my research, like I said before, my friend who is in an IT department really helped me a lot in crawling down the data from web page, and also explaining the mechanism of programming to me so that I can elaborate that in my dissertation.
Yes, it's very important to know someone who knows IT.
Yeah, exactly.
If you are going to do any kind of research in modern days, that's kind of the essential requirements now. Yes,
we need back data
mind your
everywhere.
network. Yes, especially if you're building your own kind of a data set. It's very. I remembered from your presentation that one of the things you highlighted was that in Chinese social media you have censorship on almost everything, but not on this particular topic. It's quite ironic when you actually come to think about it.
Exactly.
But it's something very interesting, and will be of consequences and implications, I think. Yes. Yu-Ting, did you receive enough support?
Yes, so firstly, I would like to thank my supervisor, Ruolin, for giving me lots of support. Yeah, at the start of this project, because at the start of this project, I always encounter difficulties. Like, I'm not really sure like what's like the specific direction I would want to focus on. But Ruolin suggested me to focus on the curriculum aspect of learner autonomy. Yeah, which kind of focused my research scope. And regarding other support that I received from others, I want to thank my past colleagues and friends, and also my past teachers, because I have been away from the teaching field of Taiwan for 1 year. And 2019 is a very critical teaching year in Taiwan because they implemented a new curriculum. So basically, I received lots of practical information from my teachers and my colleagues. Yeah, so I really want to thank like how they give me all of these information over the long distance. Yes.
That's very, again, network and friendship and just good interpersonal skills. And that should be, that's what you've highlighted. It's very important when you're collecting data. I'm very glad that you all, you've done really well in this project. Have you thought about taking the project forward, maybe developing it into publication, or continue doing it for your doctoral research, something of that sort, Meredith?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so right now I'm wanting to extend it into a PhD. So I'm just right now in the process of contacting potential supervisors and waiting for their feedback. Part of the struggle with what I want to do is that there's not much opportunity in the alt program to get hands-on with some of the methodologies, especially with neuroimaging, things like that. So it's kind of difficult to say without, ever touching, an EEG or an fMRI, things like that, oh, this is what I would like to do. And you've got, little to no background in it. So it's a bit of a challenge, I think, selling my project to potential supervisors, knowing that, I've got the theory, but maybe not so much the hands-on experience doing, that type of research with those methods. So I feel like there are a few projects out there that I've seen that are willing to provide that support.
Yes.
So,
yes. If you're looking in the right place, usually you can obtain trainings for those.
Right.
And since you have learned how to program yourself, so I have full confidence that you'll be able to learn how to use an EEG machine or an fMRI machine. It's up there with the programming, but it's conquerable given time. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
So good luck with that. I look forward to hearing about it in the near future. Tianxin, have you thought about similar things?
Yeah, I certainly want to do a PhD, and but I'm currently still trying to find a better, theoretical framework that can support my explanation better. And for the PhD, I also want to expand the research on social media side, like using corpus linguistic to analyze more topics, like except for racism. I also want to investigate how like gender and gender relationship is constructed on social media using similar approach. I'm currently also looking for supervisors that can help me with it and that are interested in it. So good luck with me, and also Marybeth.
Yes. I think if you have difficulty coming up with a particular or finding a particular theoretical framework for your research, maybe that could be one of your goals. You can create your own research kind of framework that is targeted for your particular context. Yes. I know colleagues at the University of Birmingham, Department of Language and Linguistic Science, they are doing similar things. They were doing projects on prompt speech. Again, very sensitive topic. I've read about their publications. It's very interesting. You should look into them. Bodo Winters, look up Dr. Winters. Okay. Yes. Yes. He's done something very similar. He used heat maps and Twitter analysis, corpus analysis, very similar. Yes. Hope that will find you, point you in the right direction.
I'll look into that.
Are you looking into a PhD as well?
Actually, I'm still not sure about PhD because my ultimate dream is to become a teacher in the rural area of Taiwan. But to kind of expand my project, I always want to become an action researcher, especially focusing on like how learner autonomy is put into practice in the EFL instructional setting, and maybe kind of expand it forward to the rural context of EFL instructional setting. Yeah, so this is probably what I want to do with this topic, learner autonomy, and to see like how it's implemented across diverse student population and student of different English levels.
Yes, it's very, yes. I think we've discussed this when we had the feedback session as well. You really want to go back to teach and kind of to put what have you learned into practice. I think it's a very good thing. Pedagogy should, to do research and kind of embed your findings into pedagogy is very important. And like you said, an action researcher is a very good way forward. You can embed what you have learned into your pedagogy and collect data along the way. Why not? It sounds like a win-win position for yourself and for the academic community in general. So I think wow, already it's 20 to 4. So I wish you. I think you've done really good work, and the topics you have are certainly very interesting and may have far-reaching consequences and impact on the real world, not just within the academic society. And I wish you all the best of luck with your research project. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. You have my email address. Anything I can put you into the right direction. I might need to reach out to you, Marybeth, to learn about the open source platforms. I'm looking at similar situations because we don't know when we're going to back on campus and to be able to collect data face to face. So I might reach you sooner than you think.
Yes.
Your project. And stay close with your friends who know how to program, and reach out to Alexandros if you need anything. Alexandros, do you want to add anything in particular?
I would just like to repeat what you said. So I extend my wishes to all the participants. I extend my help if they want to contact me or build a network that we can exchange ideas. So we have set up a bi-weekly meeting from tomorrow to see presenting some more details about the research that TESOL is doing. So perhaps see parts of our dissertations, see parts that are difficult, maybe even code parts or data collection or data analysis, to see if we can help each other, if we can suggest maybe we know someone who is able to help or give a pointer. So member of staff, there are classmates, there are tutors. So all of us, we can help each other to improve our academic performance and study and career. So
yes, I think it's a very good idea.
We are deeply grateful to all of you. And we are expecting to keep in touch. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All the best. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
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 Meredith?